What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is magic internet money. Bitcoin is perhaps the most powerful, world-changing invention of the last hundreds of years in the field of money. Bitcoin is based on not having to trust particular other trusted parties like bankers, whether they're central bankers at the Federal Reserve or they're bankers down at your local bank. Bitcoin is an invention that lets the people take control of their own money and not need an intermediary, not need a trusted third party to store their money or to move it around. What else can I say about Bitcoin? Well, it's not the only thing that can do that. It was just the first. It was invented after the crash, or became popular. It came on the scene after the great crash of 2008 with all the mortgage fraud and the bankers bailing themselves out, giving themselves trillions of dollars while the average Americans had to pay for all of that and lose their homes. So around that time, a guy calling himself Satoshi Nakamoto released Bitcoin into the environment. And Bitcoin doesn't have a company. It's actually decentralized. It's got thousands of people running it around the world. So it doesn't really have a headquarters or a command center, although I will get into that. There is an aspect of it that is central. There are some aspects of it that are still somewhat centralized, and that's somewhat a risk. But basically, the way it functions as a computer system is such that there's no point of attack. The only way it can be crushed by the existing powers is for them to take down the internet right now. So it's not easy for them to control, and even dictatorial countries like China have tried to control it and can't seem to do it. So in that way, it's outside the power of our existing power structures, and thus is a threat to them. Another reason it's a threat is it frees us from inflation. Inflation is used to take the value of our savings. If we save $1,000 this year, in 20 years when we need it, that $1,000 might only buy as much as $100 does today. So right now, inflation is robbing our savings. But with Bitcoin, inflation is mathematically prohibited. It really can't, the money supply in Bitcoin can't inflate. So because of that, it's actually, they're calling it a deflationary currency, meaning that Bitcoins tend to be worth more next year than they are this year. So it strongly encourages and rewards savings. What else can I say about Bitcoin? Well, first, it's not the only thing that does this. It's just the first. And now they're all together, there are more than 1,000. As of December 2017, there's well over 1,000 cryptocurrencies, they're called, or crypto tokens. Now, these crypto tokens can be used as currencies or money, but they can be used for a bunch of other things. So the fundamental breakthrough that they're based on, this thing called a blockchain, that it's a way of outsourcing trust. So we don't have to trust other people. We set up this machinery that that has the right math and the right incentive structures, and it just does the right thing. And it's very hard for anyone to take it over or corrupt it or turn it against the greater good. Maybe, that's the danger. There are interesting things. There are a lot of interesting quirks to this Bitcoin thing, but anyway, that's one of the key things about it, is it doesn't depend on people doing the right thing. It instead incentivizes them to do the right thing. And so them attempting to feather their own nest and make their own highest income leads them to do the right thing, and it's impossible to counterfeit, and so on. So anyway, it's a real breakthrough. It essentially means that we aren't going to need US dollars in the long run. We aren't going to need Russian rubles. We're not going to need Japanese yen, because this technology will allow us to keep track of our money stuff without using any magic money that's created by the existing money powers. So they're very threatened by it, and they're probably going to try and get some other, they're probably going to try and switch it for something else, try and get something else in its place that they control, because this thing was set up in a way that without their permission and without their control, and they can't figure out quite how to get control of it. Although there's an interesting story there, I do think they are working an angle whereby they may have gotten some degree of control, and that'll be the subject of my next video.